where the cycle of sacrifice, like yajna brings rain brings grains, and then living entity becomes happy and prosperous. That was the point. And then now 15th shloka, where like it says that how the following the acts of sacrifice, how performing the sacrifice as given in the Vedas is equivalent to following the will of Krishna. That is the idea given in this 3.15. Okay, that performing yajna is purifying and transcendental. Why it is purifying? Because it is in one way we are following the will of Krishna. Okay, so by performing the sacrifices given in the Vedas, that was the idea. So regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and Vedas are directly manifested from Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in the acts of sacrifice. So, some way or somehow it is also like if a person is following this, he is following the will of Krishna. So he is pleasing Krishna. So he will be purified. Okay. कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षर समुद्भवं तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितं. Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in the acts of sacrifice. Yajnarthat karma. So, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yajnarthat karma. Yajnarth karma, or the necessity of work for the satisfaction of Krishna only, is more expressly stated in this verse. Okay, previously we have read one, Yagyarthat karmanyo loko anyatra karam vandana. Now this is another verse. If we have to work for the satisfaction of the Yajna Purush Vishnu, then we must find out the direction of work in Brahman or the transcendental Vedas. Like, if you want to work for Krishna, then you should know what the directions are, how we have to work, what we have to work for Krishna. So Vedas are therefore codes of working direction, how one should work. For whom I have to work? For Krishna. And how I have to work? That is given in the Vedas. Anything performed without the direction of the Vedas is called vikarma, or unauthorized or sinful work. So papa or sinful activities is defined as something which is not mentioned in the Vedas. Okay, so anything performed without the direction of, so Vedas are either they are like Vedas are forbidding something to do, and if somebody is doing, that is called vikarma. Therefore, one should always take direction from the Vedas to be saved from the reaction of work. As one has to work in ordinary life by the direction of the state, one similarly has to work under direction of the supreme state of the Lord. If you are living in England, you have to follow the government rule of England. If you are living in India, you have to follow the rules of government of India. So same way, everybody anyway, ultimately living under the guidance, under the governance of Supreme Lord Krishna. So they have to follow the order of Krishna. Such directions in the Vedas are directly manifested from the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is said, so Vedas are what? Vedas are directly manifested from Krishna. Asya mahato bhutasya, it is said, Asya mahato bhutasya nisvasitam etad yad rigvedo yajurveda samvedo atharvangirashaha. The four Vedas, namely the Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samveda and Atharva Veda, are all emanations from the breathing of the great personality of Godhead. That is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The Lord, being omnipotent, can speak by breathing air. For, as it is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, The Lord has the omnipotency to perform through each of his senses the actions of all other senses. Angani yasya saklendriya vrittimanti pashyanti pamti kalyanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujjvala hasya govindamadi purusham tamham bhajami. Sorry. So, Lord can perform any work from any sense. Just by seeing, he impregnates the prakriti. Okay, just by seeing, he can take food. And here you see that just by breathing, he can speak the Vedas. Okay, that is the shloka from Brahma Samhita, which says that Lord can do work of any sense from any sense. Okay, so in other words, the Lord can speak through his breathing and he can impregnate by his eyes. In fact, it is said that he glanced over material nature and thus fathered all living entities. Okay. After creating or impregnating the conditioned souls into the womb of material nature, he gave his directions in the Vedic wisdom as to how such conditioned souls can return home back to Godhead. Conditioned soul wanted to enjoy, so they wanted to come to material world. So through the glance of Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are impregnated into the womb of Mother Nature, Maya, and there then Krishna spoke Vedas, so that following the instruction of Vedas, the living entity can come back. Why you have to come back? Because anyway living entity is going to be frustrated in the material world. Okay. So we should always remember that the conditioned souls in material nature are all we should always remember that the conditioned souls in material nature are all eager for material enjoyment. They want that enjoyment, but the Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires, then return to Godhead having finished his so-called enjoyment. They want to have enjoyment, so they come to Maya, but here they get frustrated. That's the purpose saying so-called enjoyment. What they feel is enjoyment, it is actually misery. So once they are finished with this so-called enjoyment, they can return home back to Godhead. So that's why Vedic directions are so made that one can satisfy one's perverted desires. Okay, so it is a chance for the conditioned souls to attain liberation. Therefore, the conditioned souls must try to follow the process of yajna by becoming Krishna conscious. Even those who have not followed the Vedic injunctions may adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness, and that will take the place of performance of Vedic yajnas or karmas. So Prabhupada is saying that even those who have not followed the Vedic injunctions may adopt the principles of Krishna consciousness. That means even the people from West, they can directly take the process of Krishna consciousness. Nobody can say that, they have not taken birth in India, the initial Vedic rituals are not being followed for them, how they can directly become Brahmin and do yajna and all. No. If they take the process of Krishna consciousness, then that will take the place of performance of Vedic yajnas. All the karmas are done for them. Okay. So the process of Krishna consciousness is such a pure process that it directly enables person to direct service of Krishna. Okay. So in this way, living entity can, because living entity has the desire to enjoy, so that perverted desires, when they perform the sacrifice or Vedic rituals, so they actually fulfill their perverted desires, right? And in that way, they are also following some rituals. Okay, so in that way, they are following the orders of Supreme Personality of Godhead in the form of following the Vedas, because Vedas also is spoken by Krishna. Okay, that's the idea, right? So okay. So this is the in this Okay, so this 14th and 15th shloka, they are actually some full of, they say the cycle of sacrifice. So purpose of human life is to please. Okay, I'll show you this thing. It will be very clear if you see that. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I hope you are able to see the screen. So here it is said that you can see now the purpose of human life to please the Supreme Lord Krishna. What is the best process? To please the Supreme Lord by unalloyed and undeviated devotional service. Krishna consciousness, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. And best yajna for this age of Kali is Sankirtan yajna, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Best mantra to be chanted is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, and this is a cycle given that all embodied living beings, they subsist on food grains. Food grains are produced by rains, and rains depend on performance of yajna, sacrifice. Sacrifice are born of prescribed duties which are mentioned in the Vedas, and Vedas comes from Supreme Lord. Okay, so that is the cycle of sacrifice. Yes? Okay, so now 16th shloka. Okay, so quite a big purport. Maybe we can take it tomorrow. So if you have any question, you can ask, because only 7-8 minutes are there. If you have any question, you can ask related to this 15th shloka. Okay. Okay. So if you have time, I can continue with the 16. It may take some more time. Yeah, you have question, you can ask.
From Srimad Bhagavatam.
What?
I have a question from previous class from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay, please ask.
Prabhuji, remember you told us the names, various names in the in the moon and the sun dynasty. So all these things repeat in all the 14 Manus. So this is one Manu, right? In the one Manu, these many. So there are two dynasties. One is sun and moon in one Manu. So there are 14 Manus, right?
Yes.
So in those four, all those things repeat like in the same way, or does it changes?
No. See now.
I don't know, right?
What?
I don't know if I'm able to explain my question or not.
Okay, I will tell you. See, we were the Bhagavatam is having many questions. In one out of all the questions, there was one question, the description of different Manus. Okay, so the story started from. Actually, this was the discussion between Vidura and Maitreya, where Vidura asked the Manu's description. So then the Swambhu Manu thing started, and Swambhu Manu, and then that goes on, all that Swambhu Manu story, Dhruva, Uttanpad, and all those things. All those Devuti, Kapil Dev, all those pastimes happened. Okay, and then second Manu, third Manu, fourth Manu, fifth Manu, like that. Fifth canto, at the end of fourth canto, first Manu only explained. Not only first Manu's first son, Uttanpad. Fifth canto, Priyavrat Maharaj started. That was the second son of Maharaj Manu, first Manu. and then it goes on, then second Manu, third Manu, fourth Manu, all thing. Then in the eighth canto actually all the Manus were explained in the short, okay, very fast, because so much time was taken by first Manu, so then all the Manus were in short explained. Then now here in the ninth canto, there was question before ninth canto to tell about the present Manu. So there are 14 Manus, but presently 7th Manu's time period is going on, which is Sraddha Dev Manu or Vivasvat Manu, the son of Vivaswan. Okay, so in this 7th Manu and the present Manvantar, what and all are the details, which were the kings and all those things were asked. So that answer, in that answer, the Sun dynasty is explained and Moon dynasty is explained. Okay, so that is from 7th Manu only. Okay, and now future Manu anyway was so when they are presently it is 7th Manu now, so 8th, 9th, 10th, all those Manus are future, they will happen in future. Okay, but still they are explained by Shukdev Goswami that they all will take birth in future and this thing will happen. So that is for future Manvantaras. Okay, so different Manus, like you have seen, like different Manus time period, different kings were there. Okay, and every Manu's time period one Manvantar avatar, Lord Krishna will come as avatar, and that avatar is called Manvantar avatar, just to oversee that everything is happening properly or not in that particular Manu's time period. Okay, so that's what we saw, that sometime Ajit was there, sometime Yajna, like that, different Manus. So that full chart I have shown you from 8th canto, right? So I think it is there. 1 second. Okay, here it is. So I'll just share the screen so it will be clear. So now you see, here it is. Okay, so this is the point you see. Now Swambhu Manu, Swarochis Manu, you can see, right? So these are the things. Okay, and this is 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14. These are the future Manus explained. So now this is the explanation of different Manus. So now what is your question? Or if it has already answered, then it's okay.
Prabhuji, I actually asked you wrong question. Now I understood what you mean. I thought that Moon dynasty and Sun dynasty, they both comes in every Manu, but that's not the case. It only comes in 7th Manu. That's what you told, right?
Yeah, so this is the description and this is the chart for, so these I have explained that time. So this Manvanta thing is quite complicating every time, I understand. So that's why there is a chart. So in every Manu's time period, these 6 positions will be there. Manu, Manuputras, Manvantar avatar, and Indra, and demigods, and 7 sages. Okay, is it done? Manu, Manuputras 2, Manvantar avatar, and Indra, and demigod, and 7 sages. These are the posts. So every Manu's time period, these posts will be taken by different personalities. Okay, so that's what, who became what. This is like every 5 years in India, they change the government. So Prime Minister is there, and Home Minister is there, Defense Ministers are there, all ministers are there. But every 5 years, the person changes, position remains same, right? So I can say that, okay, this particular dam was inaugurated by Prime Minister. Then I can say, okay, this road was inaugurated by Prime Minister, and this particular scheme was launched by Prime Minister. So everything is done by PM only. But if you go in detail, you will find that the dam was actually inaugurated by Jawaharlal Nehru. The scheme is launched by Manmohan Singh, or this particular road is inaugurated by Narendra Modi. So when you go in detail, you will find that actually in different time period, the personality who was sitting at the position of PM was different. Okay, but the PM is same. Like if you say from the position point of view, PM, everything is done by PM. Okay, so if you written somewhere like Pradhan Mantri Yojana or something like that, is banner is there and some board is there holding, so it's all done by the PM only, you know? But when you go in detail, then you will find. So this is the detail. Okay, so we say Indra, Indra, Indra. Every time we say Indra. So sometime Indra was some other personality. Sometime Indra was some other personality. Okay. So these are the names. If you see this column, Indra column. So during the first Manu, Yagyamurti son of Akuti and Ruchi was Indra. So that is the Lord only. So what happens, like when there is not a suitable personality available for some post, then Lord himself takes that post. Like in previously it happened, for some time there was no defense minister, so or some home minister or somebody, I don't remember exactly, but home minister I think or defense minister, then PM was having that same post with him, and when they found a proper person, they gave it like that. So sometime like there is no Manu, proper Manu, then Lord himself will become Manu. Sometimes there is no son or some in, so like that. So once there was no proper sun god, so God Krishna only took the position of sun. So that's why he became Surya Narayan, you know. So it's like that. So then Rochan, then Satyajit, then Trishikha, then Vibhu, and then Mantra Druma. Now seventh Manu. You see, this is the seventh Manu time period. So during seventh Manu time period, Purandar is the Indra. So Indra's name is Purandar. So for us at present time, seventh Manu time period is going on. So our Indra is Purandar. Okay. And next, when the seventh Manu will be over, time periods of seventh Manu will be over, then next will be next Indra will be Bali Maharaj. So for that time period, he is waiting in the what is that, Sutal planet. He is waiting there. So next time he will come and become Indra. He will take the position of Indra. So these 6 positions are always there, and the personality will take, that will be different. Okay, so that's what now in the Sradhadev Manu's time, who is the son of Vivaswan. So these are the kings which are explained in the 9th canto. Okay, Vivaswat Manu, because he is the Vivaswan is the sun god, and his son was Vivaswat or Shraddhadev. So because of him, this is called Vivaswat Manu time period. So sun god is sun god Vivaswan, his son is Manu. Okay, and this Manu was the previous birth, that Satyavrata Rishi, king, you know, who had a conversation with Lord Matsya. Okay, so this is the 8th canto, last we explained that. Okay, so this is the, so in this 9th canto, Sunday, this sorry, sun god Vivaswan, his son become Manu, and then his son, and then his son. This dynasty goes on in the 7th Manvantar. Okay, like that. Is it clear now?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have 2 more questions.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, so these 14 Manus are in Brahma's one day, right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay. And my second question is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears on earth only in 7th Manu. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it means that during the day of Brahma, we have 14 Manus, and within those 14 Manus, he only appears in the 7th Manu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Yes, you can say like that. So, what happened is that, okay, every 28th cycle, Lord Krishna comes in Dwapar Yuga fully. Okay, so this is 7th Manu, and every Manu will have 71 cycles, 71 or 72 like cycle of Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kali Yuga. Okay, so Brahma's one day will have 1000 cycles of Satyug, Treta, Dwapar Yuga. Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, this is one cycle. So like that 1000 cycles makes one day. Okay, so then this is one day of Brahma, and in that one day, which is 1000 cycles, these 1000 cycles are divided by 14 manus. So there are 14 manus, so 1000 divided by 14. So if you do that, so around 71 point something will come. Okay, so 71 cycles are given to one manu. Okay, so in that now 7th Manu will also have 71 cycle. So in that 28th cycle, Lord Krishna will appear fully. Okay, every Dwapar Yuga he will come, but he will not perform everything. He will not come fully, like partially he will come, but he himself coming full, like completely. Yamuna is also coming, Krishna is also coming, and Avanshi Bhatt is coming, everything, Govardhan, everything is coming, 100% is coming. That is on 20th cycle. So when he comes at fully, that next Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya also comes. Okay. So every day of Brahma, once Lord Krishna comes fully, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also comes. So that is why we are at present, whoever are there, they are the most fortunate one, because they have got this opportunity that Lord Chaitanya also is coming. Because at other time, if they the people take birth, they have no information about Lord Chaitanya, right? So they have no information about the easiest way of perfection, which is Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? So that is the best thing, that we have this information, we have that availability, and more and more, or you can say the most important thing is here that it is just happened. So when you say, Prabhupada used to say that when you say just happened, so just means when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance went up, now 550 years ago. So it is just, no, so 500 years are too much. But when you see from this whole point of view, that 1000 cycles of Brahma and Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, this big picture, then it is just 500 years back. So we are very fortunate, because we can just go to the place of Mahaprabhu's birth, and all those things are still there. That the tree where under which Mahaprabhu took birth, the tree is there. Many things are still there. So it's very important thing. So because of all this thing, it's very important. Okay, so the 28th cycle, Lord Chaitanya also comes, and Krishna comes in that Dwapar Yuga. Okay, so that is why, and that's that cycle. I also heard that in that cycle only it swaps. Satyug, Dwapar, Treta, Kali. That's the cycle. Dwa means 2, Tra means 3. So second Yuga is Dwapar Yuga, third Yuga is Treta Yuga. But in one cycle it swaps. Okay, so Treta comes first, Dwapar comes later on. So that is this. When Dwapar and Treta swaps, that in that cycle only Krishna appears. And that cycle only Lord Ram comes first. So it's like that in Treta Yuga. So these pastimes will happen repeatedly in every yugas, every cycle, but not fully. Okay, some past, and there will be some changes also. So different cycles and different kalpas, there will be some changes in the pastimes. Little details will change, like Dhruva is there, so some different pastime will happen related to him, that same story, or another personality will come, so like that. Quite complicated, but still some big pictures we can know how it happens. Okay, in details if you want to go, it will take much time. Okay, Hare Krishna. Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So if you make notes properly, then it will be easy. And since you are attending every class, so it will be easy for you to understand. And you are attending every class, still you are having doubts. I don't know what about the people who are not attending every day. Okay, whether they are able to understand or not. So maybe after this ninth canto get completed, which is only some few chapters are pending. So when the ninth canto is completed, what I will do is like I will summarized all. I will tell you the flow of whole Bhagavatam so that it will be clear. Okay, because till ninth canto a lot of complications are there. 10th onwards everything is straightforward. Okay, 10th, 11th, 12th direct Krishna's pastime, and 12th is like Kali Yuga's future description, like that. Okay, so it's clear, but here it's a lot of who said what, who is what, a lot of confusion. So maybe after ninth canto is finished, please remind me. So I'll give you a full summarized Bhagavatam. Maybe 2-3 days it will take to summarize what is the sequence, like, because many times when you read verses, you don't know who is speaking this, whether this is the part of question or this is the part of answer, because whole Bhagavatam is in the form of question and answer. So who is questioning to whom, who is answering to whom, we don't understand anything. We just keep on reading, right? So and then we have this all summarized explanation with some chart and all. It will be easy to follow. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I wish if we could get a class exclusively on this Brahma's lifespan and Manu.
Manvantara.
Like you said, like 3 days, something. Yeah, Manvantara, life day of Brahma, and about these yugas. And also on the other thing that you had mentioned about the Dvipas and all. Sweta Dvipa, Jambu Dvipa, such things. That okay. For another 3 days, like that. Two programs like that, if there.
Yeah, we will plan. Actually, I don't know if you were there or not, but when we started 8th canto, that time I gave one full class to explain this Manvantaras thing. So maybe I can request somebody here to share that class to you or in the group where we explain that. And once we complete 9th canto, again we will explain this thing. And regarding the Jambu Dvipa and all, that's a very big section and a lot of confusion. But we will find some time and we can explain that also sometime. Yeah. And for your detailed study, there is a book called Bhagavad Cosmology by his Prabhu. If you take that, you will understand. But it's quite a big book and you have to read a lot. So you can follow that. There are some other lectures also, but in a very summarized way, like just for our like that book is like full research work. Okay, but for our purpose, like a small understanding, so that we have a broader picture, at least what is what, so that we will explain sometime. Okay. And anyway, in the Hindi class which I take evening, their 4th canto is about to complete. So once the 4th canto is done, so there are like 15th more chapter in 5th canto, where the Privrat Maharaj section is there, in which Maharaj Privrat story and Rishabh Dev story and Bharat Maharaj story. These 3 stories will come, and once it is over, then this Jambu Dvipa section will be coming there. Okay, whole section will come, because that is the flow in Hindi class. So 5th canto only it is explained, so this will come there. So there, verse by verse we will see. So there also, if you follow Hindi, you can follow there and understand. Yeah, that will be in Hindi. Okay, Hare Krishna. Anyone else want to say something? Okay then. Thank you so much for joining and for your time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.